And the only thing I sell is results. I don't sell advice or consulting. I just sell results. I'm obsessed with results. Everybody say, my obsessions, will become, my possessions. You want to get obsessed with the skill that you want to accomplish and integrate into your muscle memory. Hey, this is on my front burner for 2025. I want to get good at this. You're going to become in the top 5% in the whole world in that particular skill just by dedicating 1 year of your life to it. It's that powerful. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the program when Stephanie gets back, because she asked that question. In the meantime, does anybody else have any other questions?
What are your thoughts on things like I can't remember what the title of the organization is. I think it's the Public Speaking Association or something like that. Is it PSA, something?
Something like that, yeah.
What are your thoughts on anything like that?
I used to show up to some of those meetings. I used to belong to that. I used to also, like I said, belong to some other organizations. And so for me, it was always like they had an agenda. They show you the PowerPoints, you get little booklets, but there's like, here's what we're covering. It wasn't real transformation, right? Where I might go up there and do a short little speaking drill, and then I come back to my seat, and then I'm still the same version of myself. Because when the camera is off or when the showtime is off, I just go back to being myself. Your brain is so addicted to what's familiar, what's normal. And so a lot of people, they simply have that identity where they still don't believe they're the best. Even though I said, say you're a 10, everything from my mouth is gold. It's one thing to say it, it's another thing to deeply believe that at the subconscious level. So that's what my program does, is I help people to truly, truly believe that. And that way there's no more on-off where, hey, for this camera video, I'm going to turn it on, but now it's off. Where for this presentation, I'm going to turn it on, but then I go back to being myself. It's not like that. It's more like I am this person, and then I am just being. And then whenever I have to present, I just don't do anything different than what I do in my normal life, because I'm always expressive. I'm always talkative. I'm always confident. So that way I just show up on set and just be myself. So that's the difference.
No, thank you. Just saved me $5,000. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Because I looked at it, and to join it, and then the conference that they have coming up in Phoenix, Arizona, and pay for that, and then stay there, and then I wondered, what would I get out of this actually after that, short of meeting other people that have joined the organization.
Right.
I just wanted to get a different opinion. I didn't want to ask somebody in there because they're telling me the same thing.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know, I'm very familiar. Again, so you got to understand, for a lot of decades out of my life, I wanted to make this change. So I showed up to those. I actually even invested. So I know what you mean about the 5K. But I'm telling you from the other side of, like, when you cross that chasm, I was a little underwhelmed because I felt like I showed up to Buttcamp, where I was just, putting my butt in the chair and, taking a lot of notes, instead of a true boot camp. If you show up to a true boot camp, it's not Buttcamp. It's like we're doing, we're becoming, we're transforming, right? So, sometimes the best training in the world is at the underground level, not always the big organizations with the big brand names or the YouTubers that have massive followership and, they got all these fans. But then when you actually sign up and you go a little bit further with some of their offerings, sometimes they'll just inundate you with video modules and, you know, follow this program, maybe show up to a coaching call once a week, and then, you know, at the end of the day, like, oh, I never even, you know, really connected with the mentor. I was more like one of the sardines. They just jam-packed us in there. You know, my dojo, if you will, is more of an underground type of feel, where there's currently 46 participants in the program. Because there's classes offered every single week, I don't have the problem of too many people showing up all at once. So if 46 people showed up all at once, I couldn't do the class. It would be over flooded. Even though I booked myself for an entire 4 hours, that's still too much. So, you know, come on in, come have a seat. So, you know, it just depends on whoever shows up for that class. It's just like, you know, you have membership, and because of that, there's weekly classes, and the classes happen every other Thursday, 6 p.m. They go on till 10. That's an entire 4 hours, a half-day training. Now, does that mean that if you have a 4-hour class that you have to be there and show up and actually participate for an entire 4 hours? Do you have to be there right at 6? Do you have to stay till 10? Is anybody going to stay with a gun saying, you are not leaving this room? No, it doesn't mean that. So you can create your own schedule. Just know that I'll be in the building holding that class. And every time you show up, could be that Thursday class, could be a Saturday class, because we have Saturday classes every other Saturday from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. It's not like today. It's very, very different than what I'm doing here. And so you might show up to that Saturday class, or you might show up to that Thursday class. Every week we have a 4-hour training in person. And there's going to be a lot of different speaking that you're going to do inside the class. Number one, if anybody has an event, a conference, or some kind of a speaking engagement, you get to work and chisel that talk. How? Well, I'm going to help you improve the content of it. I'm also going to help you improve the delivery of it. And we're also going to videotape it. So every time you come to a class, it's always going to be videotaped. And you're going to get that footage. So any presentation, if you have a work presentation coming up, you could bring your laptop in the class, and then we can run through it. So almost think of it like a component of our class is public speaking and acting at the same time. If you have a podcast coming up, or if you'd like to be on more podcasts, I'll show you how to get booked on podcasts, or how to get booked at conferences, how to get booked as a speaker, right? So any one of those type of real world speaking engagements, we get to work it inside the class. That's the beautiful thing about it. And then at the same time, you know, there may be some things where you're wondering, I don't really have anything coming up, but I'd love to just get your opinion on what else can we do. So I might have you do, you know, certain drills that I get people to do, where I'll have you come up in front of an audience and do a keynote off the dome. Yes, it's possible. Very possible. So but of course we have to have a framework